Hey guys, welcome to my first drive video on BMW's brand new G99 M5 Touring. I'm out in the beautiful Bavarian forest, so let's not waste any more time. Jump in this carbon black M5 Touring and bring you lot along for the ride. Well, this is a real treat, being out in the beautiful Bavarian forest with my very own tour guide that just happens to be driving his Porsche Boxster Spider. Massive thanks to Julian, and do me a favour, check him out on Instagram, there'll be a link to it in the description below. Let's get on to talking about the M5 Touring. Hopefully you've seen my recent M5 Saloon review. I had more time with that car and covered more stuff, but like with all of these first drive press launches, well, I'll wait until I get home and borrow a UK press car, right-hand drive on UK roads, to give you my proper verdict, and I am looking forward to that. Also, when you get a UK press car, you have it for a week, so you kind of live with it a little bit, whereas out here it's like, there's the keys, go, we'll see you in a few hours, which is a great opportunity. But tonight when I'm on my way home in the plane, I'll be sitting there going, oh, I didn't talk about that, or you kind of start learning things after you've got out of the car. And I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous, but that is kind of the case. The Touring weighs about 40 kilos more than the Saloon, and because we're talking such big numbers, probably doesn't make that much of a difference. I think it's 2,475 kilos. I thought it would actually be about 100 kilos heavier than the Saloon, but it's not. Have I felt it today? No, I'd be lying if I said I did. What I have noticed is every time I look in my rear view mirror, there's more car there, there's more space. Talking of space, with the rear seats folded flat, you get 1,630 litres. So it's a massive amount of boot space, and even with them folded up, you've got a massive boot. And in fact, I've just ironically had to put my cabin bag into Julian's frunk, because otherwise it would be flying around on these mountain roads and be picking it up on the camera. This is probably a good place to talk about its acceleration. We'll actually put it in fourth. It'll probably normally overtake in third, but in fourth, just picks up so well. It's just every bit as fast as the Saloon. I know they claim that it's a tenth slower to 60 miles an hour, and I'm sure it is, because it is a little bit heavier. But do you feel that from the driver's seat? No way. That 1,000 Newton meters of torque, that is what throws this big, heavy object down the road. I say big, it's over 5 meters long, and just like the Saloon, it is more or less 2 meters wide. And like I said in my Saloon video, that is maybe its biggest downfall in terms of a driver's car, because when you get to a road even like this, and let's face it, we don't have many roads, number one, that was nice quality as this, and number two, that was as wide as this, like drivers' roads in the UK. Most of ours are narrower, plus the odd pothole on the outside, so it makes it even narrower. I think that will be the problem for this car. When I do get it on UK soil, it's going to feel even bigger, because it does feel very big out here. In terms of the running gear of this car, it retains the same setup as the Saloon. So we have the S68, which is a 4.4 litre V8 twin turbo under the bonnet, and that on its own produces 585 horsepower, 750 Newton meters of torque. But that is paired up with an electric motor that sits in between the gearbox and the combustion engine. And that electric motor on its own produces 197 horsepower and 450 Newton meters of torque. In fact, that motor and battery on its own will give you about 40 miles of range in the M5 Touring. It will also go up to about 85 miles an hour, so absolutely fine for every UK speed limit. When you combine the combustion engine and the electrical motor, this car has a total maximum output of 727 horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters. I know I've already mentioned that, but I just can't get my head around it. I've got a little gauge here on the dash, and every time I put my foot down, I just see 1,000 Newton meters, which is just comical. It's such a big number, but it needs to be. It's that 1,000 Newton meters that make this car feel so much lighter and more nimble than it is. It also retains the rear axle steering that the saloon has, and that is the first time we've seen rear axle steering on an M5, and it kind of needs it, to be honest. I'm not a fan of rear axle steering on smaller sports cars like 911, but on something like this or Audi's RS6, it really shrinks the car, makes the wheelbase feel shorter, and yeah, it just gives you a car that feels more nimble. Wow, Julian is really pushing on here. But this is nice. This is a great experiment. It's a great example of, although this is a massive car and it weighs a lot, I could have 4 people in here in absolute comfort, luggage, a dog in the boot, and yet it can just about hold on to a boxer spider. Let's test out this car's claimed acceleration figures. BMW say it would do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 3.6 seconds. I have my good friend Julian sitting next to me, who's going to be doing the timekeeping with my Racebox Mini. I have got all the traction stability switched off. I'm in Sport Plus, and that's pretty much it. Left foot is hard down on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, launch control active. You good? Yeah. Here we go. So fast, 3.32 seconds. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, it felt as quick as the saloon yesterday, but that's actually about 0.2 of a second slower. BMW claim that this is 0.1 of a second slower, and I also have a passenger. Not a heavyweight passenger, but still a passenger. That all comes together to make perfect sense. 3.3 seconds to 60 miles an hour in the M5 Touring with 2 people. Very, very impressive. Right, we're going back up now. Julian said he's really going to push, so... How is this possible? What a machine! Unbelievable. And I don't necessarily have to be in a super low gear because it has all of that torque. Oh, it's unreal. I don't know this road. Julian does. I'm coming up with racing driver excuses. Oh, the optional carbon ceramics doing a fantastic job, as are the brilliant Michelin Pilot Sport S5 tyre. I almost said that the wrong way around then. I've not spent much time on the S5, and this particular one is star marked and therefore homologated by Michelin and BMW to work with the new G99 M5s, and I tell you what, it does an unbelievably good job when you consider the forces that are going through these tyres. I mean, I say it a lot, but a tyre is arguably the most important part of any sports or supercar or super wagon, whatever you want to call this. They really are. You know, it's all very well the M engineers developing this incredible M hybrid, but if you can't get that power and torque to the ground, or you can't get it through the corners, then what is the point? And yeah, these Michelins are absolutely wonderful, and they look good. That was fantastic. Massive thanks to my good friend Julian. I wasn't expecting to drive up and down such a dynamic road today. Usually quite limited around Munich, but I'm so glad that I ventured out here. Even though I've literally got an hour and a half here to do all of my filming, it was worthwhile. Really, definitely worthwhile. What a location. You now join me sitting at about 120 miles an hour on my way back to Munich to drop this wonderful car off at the BMW press garage before jumping in an airport shuttle and flying home. A little bit earlier, on the way out to see Julian, I managed to find a clear bit of Autobahn and test out this car's top speed. So let's jump back to then, and you can join me here for a conclusion. After managing an indicated 312 in the saloon yesterday and realising that that was where the limiter was, the car would not go any faster, the electronics would not allow it to go any faster, I just assumed that this Touring would be exactly the same, but seems to be slightly different, and I managed 315 kilometers per hour, which I worked out to be 196 miles an hour indicated, so GPS probably 190, 191 miles an hour, which is unbelievably fast, especially when it was quite obvious that, again, I'd hit a limiter. I'm in no doubt that this is capable of going well over 200 miles an hour. Like I said in my M5 Saloon video, I'm very aware of the hatred that people are giving the new M5 around its weight. But in many ways, that was unavoidable. BMW had to make this a hybrid because legislation say so. EU regulations basically stipulate that it has to be a hybrid unless they want to pay massive fines, and therefore we would pay a lot more for an M5. So that's the first reason. The second thing is they could have made it a little bit lighter by fitting a highly strung, let's say 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. But do you want a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine in your M5? No, you don't. So they've done what they could do with the rules that are in place. We didn't want to end up with another C63 4-pot. How many people have bought that car? None. How many have you seen on the roads? None. And that's because it's a 4-pot. AMG customers, especially C63 customers, don't want a 4-pot. They want a V8. It's a nice Toronto red G87. Lovely jubbly. When you look at those two factors, that A, this kind of had to be a hybrid, and B, it had to have a V8 in it to satisfy the likes of us, well, this is what they've ended up with. And although we know this particular car is almost 2.5 tons, I tell you what, you don't feel it. You don't feel it in the way it accelerates. You don't feel it in the way it handles. It doesn't feel lightweight. It's not oozing with feel, but neither's my M3, to be honest. The M3 really lacks steering feel. It's very capable, but I think what they've done with this car is unreal. Its biggest weak spots for me, as far as I'm concerned, are the fact that it's very big, too big in many cases, too wide, and it feels very big. So it'd be interesting to see what that's like when I'm in a right-hand drive press car back home in the UK on a UK road. I'm sure that's only going to feel worse and more exaggerated. And the other weak spot, as far as I can tell, is the fuel tank. It only has 60 litres, I think they quoted, and especially out here on the Autobahn, or when you're pushing on, obviously that 2.5 tons of weight, and when you're regenning, you're using the engine to charge that battery back up, it really does get through that 60 litres very, very quickly. So it would have been nice if that was 70, 75 litres, but it's a small price to pay for an otherwise absolutely brilliant package. Anyway, my voice is continuing to go once again. The traffic is picking up because we're very close to Munich. So I'm going to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a thumbs up if you did. Leave any comments and questions below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Cheers. For me, this is where it's quick. So like 50k in fourth at like 2000 RPM, you put your foot down, you've got that instant, and then the V8 comes in and it's just